Hello everyone, and welcome back to another modding video. This right here is Radeon HD 4550, specifically actually a Dell one, doesn't matter though. The idea is to modify this thing and get it ready for some extreme overclocking. My specific GPU, as you can see, comes with Samsung E-Die. I don't know whether that's good or not. Neither do I know whether it scales with voltage or with cold. But I guess I'll find out. I'm going to be doing a memory volt mod regardless. Core volt mod, obviously. And I guess, yeah, with that said, let's just get right into it. Let me take this heatsink off first, and then I'll have to figure out which pins on these are the feedback pins. I've marked pin 6. Oops, that was a horrible sound. I've marked pin 6 on both controllers already, assuming that pin 6, I can actually see it right there, kind of. See this little dot? That is assuming that pin 6 is the feedback pin. You can see it on here as well. See that little dot? That's pin 6. Again, assuming that pin 6 is feedback, but I do have it printed out right here, the data sheet for the controller, but I haven't actually taken a look at it yet. Actually, let me just do that right now. Yeah, pin 6. As you can see, pin 6 is feedback. So something that will actually be kind of challenging on this card is going to be attaching capacitors to the back of the core. That is something I generally like doing because it does actually, or in the past, it has helped with overclocking actually quite a bit. At least on GPUs that I've tested so far. There were, of course, some that didn't really care about the additional capacitors on the back of the core, but generally I have always seen like even just a little bit of stability improvements at higher clock speeds by adding or after adding capacitors to the back of the core. The reason it will be more difficult, in case you're wondering, is because it's only got a couple of MLCCs here that are large enough to solder to. And by extension, I won't be able to add, what are they called? They're not POS caps, SP caps, there you go. Aluminum polymers, those kinds of capacitors won't be able, or easily be able to attach these to the back of the core. So I'll probably just end up adding CAN types to the back of the core there. But even that's going to be challenging because, again, these are rather small MLCCs there. But I guess I'll be able to figure something out there. Other than that, there's really actually not a whole lot of modding that needs to be done to get these ready for extreme overclocking, right? Heatsink mods, I mean, I guess, yeah. The thing is, though, these cores, they don't consume a lot of power, so you really don't need a lot of heatsink, if you know what I'm saying, to get rid of the heat these chips output even at higher voltages and clock speeds. But I have decided that I will be water cooling one of these. I have bought like an alpha cool block that fits the mounting hole spacing after you modify it. So not out of the box, but once you modify it, you can actually get it to mount on here pretty much perfectly. But yeah, I guess that's enough rambling for now. Let's take this heatsink off and get right into modding this thing. There you go, number 1. Number 2. And the fan. Boop. First thing I need to do, since I am going to volt mod both voltage rails, like both vCore and VMM, I should say. There's more than just those two rails, obviously, but first thing, getting distracted, is to figure out the resistance to ground on these. I'm going to round that up to 9 kilo ohms. And VMem, where are you? You're right there. Yeah, 5 kilo ohms. I think I'm going to use 100 kilo ohms for both. Gives me quite a bit of room to play around with there. Yeah, I think I'll go 100 kilo ohms for both. And just get some potentiometers. 100k. Conveniently, 2 left. First thing I'll do before I attach these to the board would be to go ahead and max these potentiometers out, just so that when I fire the thing up, I don't like accidentally push crap tons of voltage into the core in memory, because these might just be sitting at like, what, 1 kilo ohm from the factory? 34, not as bad, but still. This thing is at its maximum resistance. I'll just do that for this one too, really quickly. Okay, these are now maxed out. Just so that I don't confuse them, when I solder them, I will break off the 3rd pin because I won't be needing it, because this potentiometer will be used as a variable resistor. Same thing to this one. Oop. These are my potentiometers. I need wire. Do I have wire here? Yes, I do. I remembered that I bought a whole spool of wire. I need some solder as well. And then lastly, some flux. The flux I use, by the way, oops, upside down, is MG Chemicals 8341. It's a no-clean flux, but it's not, as far as I'm concerned, water soluble. So if you want to clean this off, you'll have to use like IPA or whatnot. What do I start off with? Voltage mods or capacitor mods? I'm leaning more towards cap mods, if I'm being honest. So let's do that. Actually, let me get rid of this I/O bracket. The electrical noise you're hearing, by the way, is my soldering iron. I should say my soldering station. I don't know why it does that, but it works fine, so I don't care about it. We need some capacitors. Let's figure out what core resistance is first. This is V core, the inductor. 11 ohms. Thereabouts. Looks good, and this should thereby also be about 11 ohms, which it is. So this is confirmed V core, so put some flux on there. I'll preheat the board using my cheap hot air rework station. I'll have to get a better one. This is like the $50 one that you can buy off of Amazon. Gets the job done for small stuff, but these graphics card PCBs with their power planes and whatnot, it's not a particularly great time. Bit of oxidation on there. Let me dual wield. Yep, as you can see. You might not actually be able to see since I'm blocking the light. But solder is flowing, at least decently. Though my soldering iron is also horribly inadequate because it's just a 25 watt iron. I really should upgrade my equipment in that regard, but that looks good. Okay, let me pick a capacitor. Polarity, ground is to the right. So it'll have to go on there like this. Let me see if there's still enough heat in the PCB. And yes, it would appear there is. Yeah. These will just be very blobby joints. Oh, I should not actually make them too blobby because they might just short out. Good thing I caught that. Yeah, this is fine. It's blobby, as you can see. Very blobby joint. but one that will work. You can see they're not shorting. Alright, first cat mod done. Doesn't look good, but it doesn't have to look good. Now, for VMEM, these right here, these capacitors, might just be on... Actually, I haven't even checked what the VMEM resistance is on this one. Let me just do that really quickly. 66.5 ohms. Let's see what these are. 65. 65. Yeah. I'm assuming all of these are VMEM. Maybe this one too? Yep. Looks good. Yep. All of them are VMEM. I'll attempt to put some on there too. It'll be difficult, however, because these are actually quite small. They're even, these MLCCs right here are even smaller than the ones behind the core, so that'll be interesting. I've just put a bit of thought into how it is that I'm going to attempt to attach capacitors to the back of the core, and the idea is that I will stack MLCCs and then solder a CAN type to one of them MLCCs. Whether that will work out or not, I don't know. Guess I'm about to find out. Let's see. Oh. That one's on there. Yep. That looks good. I'll show you really quickly. Little stacked MLCCs on the back, and I should now be able to solder to these capacitors that are now up top. Makes it a bit easier. Though I do have some more MLCCs, so how about I just try to put even more on there? Because why not? Alright, next thing to do, go fish for some more of these. Oops. There's another one. And now I have to figure out which side is ground, because these CAN types, they have a polarity, the MLCCs, they don't. So, I actually have two more MLCCs. It's just screaming at me. Put me on there. Yeah, this should be fine. The joints, they don't look perfect now, because like stacking tons of MLCCs on top, who would have guessed? This actually looks really good. I take back whatever I just said. What the hell happened there? Okay, this is kind of cool. I let go of it too early, and it just I let go of it too early, and it's just kind of sitting there now, stuck to the side, because the solder was so molten. Which side is ground? For this one, it's facing left, and for this one, facing right. If this works, this is what I'll do going forward. I guess it works, actually. I'll give you a close-up in a second. Oh, but can I fit the other one on there now? I might not actually be able to do that, or it's going to be a close call. It might just fit, actually. Now I got it. Yeah, let me show you. I think you can already see. You can really see that blob there. Capacitor that's from this perspective up top. Its right leg. There's a bit of a blob there, but I don't care. Let's see. Is it shorted? It is not. So, cat mod. Success. I'll have to add a voltage sense wire to this as well. That is something I should not forget. Should be easy enough to do, however. VMEM next? I guess so. Perfect. These two caps are on there now too. You know what, I believe for VMEM, I mean this is GDR3, I believe honestly I'm just gonna stack some MLCCs. But you know what, while I'm at it, since I have a bunch of these input filter ones, let's just add one of these per VRM as well. I believe I pulled these off of a GTX 590? I could be wrong. I do have a 590 as well that I modified quite heavily. Planning to do a video on that, just haven't gotten around to it yet. Alright, that's the input filtering, cap modded, and I believe the last thing is really just MLCCs for VMEM. Okay, let's just put these into place. Right, I believe this is it for VMEM cap mods. Volt mod is yet to come. Let's quickly check for short. Nope. It's not shorted. You can see. Still 66 ohms, so we're good there. Now, last two things, volt mods and voltage sensing, or voltage sense wires. I'll start off with what would be easier to do. Yeah, I'll do the wires for the volt mod first, and I'll do the voltage sense wires after that. The potentiometers are probably the last thing that I'll add. Now, put this wire into place. Okay, same thing needs to be done for VMEM. Yep, it's on there. And lastly, it's about voltage sensing. Now, there's only 2 voltages that are modified on this card, so I'll only need 2, or actually I'll need 4 sense wires because I need 1 ground. But I'll just take a piece of wire, and what I'll do now is I will need a ground, and I think I'm just going to use one of the display outputs right here. Okay, for snag protection, if you accidentally pull on one of these wires, I would want it to pull on this thing instead of on any component. So what I'll do is I'll mark out how long each wire needs to be. So this, see, I'm colorblind, so this could either be brown or red, I'm not quite sure. But the furthest left wire will be ground. Gray, I believe this is gray, will be VCore, and white will be VMEM. Voltage sensing is now basically done. And all that's left to do right now, to finish this off, would be to attach the potentiometers. Alright, I guess this is it. I guess these are all the mods that needed to be done. Yeah, about 2 hours of work. 2 hours, 13 minutes is the raw footage right now. I can actually check one last time if there are any shorts. 11 ohms, perfect. Nope, there you go, it was just bad connection. Yeah, it's good to go, no short. Yeah, I believe these are all the mods that I will do to this. Probably a bit of a longer video, but I hope you guys enjoyed regardless. If you did, definitely consider leaving a like on it as well as subscribing to the channel. Any support is genuinely and greatly appreciated. It does go a long way in keeping new content just like this coming in the future. And yeah, with that said, I hope to see you guys again in the very next video. Have a good one.